What is up, amigos? Welcome to my first impressions of Battlefield 1. As you can see on the screen just there, I am in a game of Conquest, playing as the British against the Ottoman Empire. And this is obviously just going to be a little first impressions of the game. So, first things first, I want to open out with the fact that the multiplayer is outstanding. The game looks brilliant, the multiplayer is fun, I've not had any trouble getting into matches at all so far. Obviously, I'm playing on the early enlisters edition. That might change when the 4 game comes out. The servers might not be able to handle everyone going at the same time. But yeah, I've not had any trouble jumping into a match at all. All the weapons feel really satisfying to fire, which is one thing that I found in Battlefield Hardline just did not. I couldn't really get behind the feel of the weapons. They didn't feel powerful. Every single weapon that you fire in Battlefield 1 feels like it's got a kick to it. You can feel the bullet leaving the barrel. It's insane. The game modes are amazing. If you're a long-time Battlefield fan, then modes like Rush and Conquest, those are back. TDM is always there. However, they've got a few new modes. The first one I'm going to touch on is, I think it's called War Pigeons, where you have to sort of capture an objective and then release the pigeon to send a message, and obviously the team with the most amount of pigeon messages at the end wins. And that's a really sort of fun, different take on how Battlefield is played. But where the game shines for me is operations. Now, generally in the past on Battlefield, you've either been a conquest guy or you've been a rush kind of guy, because they're two very different game modes. Conquest, obviously, is what I'm playing here, where you take over an entire map and you have to hold all the points, and that generates you points for your team. Whereas Rush, obviously, you push through different objectives and you have to sort of move forward as a team and you push the enemy back. Operations is a mixture of both of those game modes put together. You still do move through an enemy front and you have to push them back and take objectives, but the objectives that you're taking are conquest style objectives, where instead of bombing MCOM stations, like has always been in the past on Battlefield, you are actually holding objectives and holding points rather than just sort of doing these arbitrary bombing objectives. And I think that's really something different and impressive that the Battlefield games needed. And I wish I had some footage of that actually at the moment. I'll try and get some later. But it's definitely the best way of playing it, in my personal opinion. I already touched on how the guns all feel powerful. Everything feels muddy and gritty and real, in a sense. You will randomly just be killed out of nowhere by single shot rifles from across the map, as my squad mate there just was. But nothing ever feels cheap in Battlefield. The land tanks feel a little cheap, but none of the infantry weapons ever feel cheap. It wasn't like Battlefield 4 where you could just get the Ace-23 and just shred with it, and no one could get anywhere near you if you were playing as an assault class. The classes overall seem more useful, because everyone gets those DMR style weapons. Pretty much everyone gets those single shot rifles. A lot of the engagements that you are involved in are those single shot rifle engagements. You very, very rarely have an engagement with someone using a fully automatic weapon, and when that does happen, it comes down to range and who is the better shot at that point. If you can drop a single shot and get the head at the optimum range for your rifle, then you are going to win that. And I think that's something that Battlefield Hardline definitely missed. Battlefield 4 kind of got it, but Battlefield Hardline definitely missed that. Playing in a squad feels amazing this time round. Even in just a squad of 2, like I am doing here. Sorry, I'm just looking at the footage and just wondering how I didn't hit that guy. Should have just kept firing and charged him. Some of the other modes and all the other maps. Personally, I don't think this map is the best map that I've ever played on a Battlefield game. But some of the other maps are absolutely outstanding. The campaign is where the game is let down, and I'm sorry to say that about a Battlefield game, because generally they tend to have quite good campaigns. And don't get me wrong, this campaign is enjoyable, but it's just far too short, which is a real shame. Battlefield campaigns in the past have been relatively long experiences with good, sort of big bombastic experiences, lots of guns going off, lots of explosions, very Michael Bay. And this one is no different in terms of the explosions and the guns. They do make you feel for the characters that you're playing as, because you don't play as just one character anymore. You're playing as sort of a war stories of like different people across the war, across different little times in the war, which is cool. But it's just not long enough, which is a shame. But when you are playing Battlefield, you are playing for the online. Personally, that's tends to be where things go. If you play Battlefield, you're playing for the online, and the online is outstanding. I have had one or two issues, as you can just see here, trying to bring the menu up. The menu just didn't come up, which is a bit of a shame. I've had one or two issues with visuals. Don't know if that's just on the PlayStation 4. Primarily on this map, as when the sort of the big dust heat storm rolls in, the visuals did not look good. I'm just gonna have to say it perfectly honestly. All of the times in the game, the visuals have looked absolutely outstanding and really, really beautiful. But when that rolled around, it was it looked something like it was something out of the PS3 era. It did not look good. I'm talking like early PS3 era, not even like the late PS3 era. Um, Other than that, air combat feels amazing. It's so cool to have a tail gunner on your plane, and if you are playing as a tail gunner and you bring down a plane behind yours that's gunning for your pilot, it feels absolutely outstanding. The behemoths are an amazing way that can just turn a match around. If the match is close and the losing team gets the behemoth, it's outstandingly fun. When it comes down to it, the game is amazingly fun, and I personally think it's the best Battlefield game out, aside from the campaign. If we do get some more campaign stuff later down the line, which I don't think we will, but if we do, then that's amazing. But so far, what we've got straight away from this early enlisters package is outstanding. It's a pretty solid 8.5 out of 10 from me. That's just my first impressions. Obviously, as I play more of the game, uh, these impressions might change. They might get better. They might get worse. I don't know, but I will update this with a full review at some point. But these are just the first impressions from Battlefield 1. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And I'm very sure I'm about to die here. Yep, there it is. Thank you very much for watching, guys. And peace.